Okay, so you're always on the lookout for that next big thing, right? Like something that's truly cutting edge, the
Yeah.
kind of stuff that makes you go, whoa, but without getting bogged down in all the super technical
Yeah,
details.
exactly. We're on the aha moments.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So today we are diving deep into the world of mitochondrial transplantation,
Oh, very cool.
which I know sounds pretty complex.
It is fascinating stuff.
It is, but think of it as giving your cells a serious upgrade.
Like a tune-up.
Like a tune-up, right? Like a total energy boost.
Yeah, basically introducing healthy new mitochondria
Mm.
into cells that are kind of running low on power,
Mm-hmm.
to rejuvenate them.
Now, for this deep dive, we've got a really great overview article on mitochondrial transplantation and some reports on the companies that are really spearheading this research.
Cutting edge stuff.
Yeah, so we're going to extract the most important and interesting parts for you and show you just how much potential this field has and maybe raise some questions along the way.
It's good.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. Mitochondria, everyone's heard the term.
Yeah.
But what exactly makes them so crucial that transplanting them is now becoming this revolutionary idea?
Well, you know how people call them the powerhouses of the cell?
Right.
It's because they're the ones making ATP, which is like the energy currency that powers absolutely everything that goes on inside our cells.
Oh, wow.
And when those mitochondria start to decline, whether it's from aging or disease, that's when things can really go downhill.
Yeah, so it affects everything.
It can contribute to so many different conditions, like neurodegenerative diseases, like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, cardiovascular problems, metabolic disorders. It's pretty far-reaching.
So if the cell's power source is failing, the logic is to just, swap it out for a new one.
Right, give it a fresh battery, so to speak.
Exactly. So how does that actually work in practice?
So mitochondrial transplantation involves taking healthy functioning mitochondria from a donor cell and introducing them into a recipient cell that's struggling.
And they just take to them, like they know what to do.
It's pretty amazing, right?
Yeah.
And the results we're seeing are pretty remarkable, like improvements in cellular metabolism, a big boost in energy production, and even evidence of tissue repair.
Oh, wow.
There was this study where they found that stem cells that received a mitochondrial transplant were much better at healing bone.
So that's amazing on a cellular level, but how do you go from a few mitochondria in a petri dish to something that can actually help millions of people?
That's where these bioreactors come in.
Okay.
Yeah, because you need to be able to grow these healthy mitochondria on a large scale to make it a viable therapy.
That makes sense.
And there's this company, Mitrix Bio, out in California.
I've heard of them.
They're doing some really innovative work with bioreactors.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they're figuring out how to grow young, healthy mitochondria in these bioreactors and then how to encapsulate them so they can be delivered directly where they're needed in the body.
How cool.
It's pretty wild. And their long-term goal is actually to provide supplemental mitochondria to people over 55 to combat age-related decline in general.
Wow. So like an energy booster shot for your whole system.
Yeah, exactly. Addressing that systemic energy loss that happens as we age.
That's huge. So we've talked about the how, but who's actually working on turning this into treatments for specific diseases?
Well, there are several key players making some serious progress.
Okay.
Like Minovia Therapeutics in Israel. They're focused on mitochondrial diseases like Pearson syndrome, which is a really rare and serious genetic disorder. They're using something called mitochondrial augmentation therapy, which is essentially giving the existing mitochondria in the patient's cells a boost.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then there's Cellvie. They've got operations in Houston and Zurich, and they're really into direct transplantation techniques to improve overall cellular function.
And is there anyone else doing interesting work in this field?
Oh yeah, for sure. Paean Biotechnology in Korea is another one to watch. They're using mitochondria derived from stem cells to target inflammatory diseases like polymyositis and dermatomyositis. And they're even looking at using it to treat hearing loss.
Wow. So many different approaches to essentially the same problem.
Right. Each company's kind of tackling it from a different angle.
Yeah, it really seems like we're at the beginning of a whole new era in medicine, being able to actually address these conditions that have been so difficult to treat in the past.
I think so.
But our sources also pointed to some pretty interesting developments outside of traditional medicine, too.
Oh, yeah. Like in the sports world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like researchers like James McCulley at Boston Children's Hospital are noticing a growing interest from athletes who are thinking, hey, if this can boost energy in sick people, can it also give healthy people an edge?
Right. Enhanced mitochondrial function could potentially lead to better athletic performance. At least that's the theory.
And of course, this has gotten the attention of the people who try to keep sports fair.
Absolutely. The World Anti-Doping Agency is already looking into whether Mitochondrial transplantation could be used for performance enhancement, and if so, how to regulate it.
Wow, it's amazing how quickly this is all developing.
It is.
So for our listeners out there, what would you say is the most important thing to take away from all this?
I think the key takeaway is that this field has enormous potential to treat a whole range of diseases that are linked to energy deficits at the cellular level.
Right, so many conditions that have been really hard to manage.
Exactly. It's opening up brand new possibilities.
And it also raises some important ethical questions as we start to see its potential applications beyond just treating illnesses.
Definitely.
So more research is needed, both to refine the treatments themselves and to figure out the broader implications of this technology.
Absolutely.
So here's something for everyone to think about. Given that energy is so fundamental to every single process in our bodies, what other unexpected applications might we see for mitochondrial transplantation in the future? Beyond the medical conditions and the performance enhancement we've talked about today, where else could this lead us?
It's a really interesting question.
It really makes you wonder what the future holds.
It does.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. It's been fascinating.
Absolutely my pleasure.
Until next time.
See you later.